How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff. Anyway, as you can already tell from the thumbnail, yes, today we are talking about the curse technique that belongs to none other than the edgy Sasuke of Jujutsu Kaisen himself. I'm kidding, please do not call him that. It's kind of just factually incorrect. But yes, we are talking about the curse technique of none other than Megumi Fushiguro. So to start off talking about the 10 shadows, we first need to mention that when you inherit this technique and it is activated for the first time, you are given 2 divine dogs. You can summon these at will, they will always be under your command. For all of the other Shikigami that Megumi can control, he has to perform a ritual summoning technique to summon those Shikigami forth and then exercise them himself. He can use any Shikigami under his control because those are a part of him and his curse technique. If anybody else is involved in the ritual or helps out in any way, that ritual is then null and void, and Megumi will not be able to control those Shikigami after they are exercised. He will have to resummon them with the ritual and exercise them himself. Until he does that, he will never be able to control them. Once he does, however, complete control, he can use them at any time as long as he has enough cursed energy, because each Shikigami does require more or less cursed energy to summon than another. Now that the ritual summoning is out of the way, I need to mention that if a Shikigami is fully destroyed, Megumi cannot summon them again. Their strength is dissipated throughout his other Shikigami, so it's not an entire loss, but say Nue is destroyed. He can no longer use the flying capabilities of Nue, he can no longer use the stunning capability of its electric wings, things like that. Luckily, Nue's still around. I like Nue. Pretty dope. But, however, we have seen one of his divine dogs destroyed. Now with the divine dogs, with there being a black dog and a white dog, when one of them is destroyed, their strength combines into the remaining one, and they combine into cone totality. So, this gives you a good reference of exactly how this works when a Shikigami dies. I don't think the toad dying would fuse with Nue, but I think the rest of them would get stronger. The divine dogs seem to be a little bit of a caveat there because, well, they're kind of 2 sides of the same coin. However, with this being said, if Megumi uses a technique like the Well's Unknown Abyss, where he combines the powers of Toad and Nue to give the Toads wings, make them a little bit weaker but much more mobile, still powerful enough to hurt people, but they can be destroyed a lot easier. This can be destroyed as many times as he wants. He can summon it, have it destroyed, summon it, have it destroyed. As long as he has enough cursed energy, it's no problem, because it's a combination technique between 2 different Shikigami, the Toad and the Nue. However, if the Toad or Nue is destroyed, he can no longer use that combination technique. So in essence, you have to destroy the base Shikigami itself. One of the divine dogs, it can no longer come back. If you kill the Toad itself, the Toad can never come back. Combining them means they can be destroyed just fine. Keep in mind, cone totality is not a combination. It is just the strength of one divine dog into the other after it was gone. So that does not count. If cone totality is destroyed, it is gone forever. He can never summon any type of divine dog ever again. Now that all of that is finally out of the way, we can hurry up and scoot through all of the Shikigami that we have seen so far. Now, I've already kind of talked about the divine dogs and cone totality enough. They start out as a black dog and a white dog. If one of them is destroyed, they combine into cone totality. That's really it. It makes them a lot stronger. It makes them a lot faster. Previously, early on, they were not super strong. After becoming cone totality, they were able to punch straight through the chest of a special grade. Next up, we have Nue, which I also talked about a little bit. It is a really, really big bird with a skull face, and it has electrical wings. It has a lot of speed and quite a bit of attack power. The wings are very heavy and, well, electrified. So using it to stun and basically jab at opponents very quickly, leaving them open to more attacks, or if Megumi wants, he can also use it to fly himself around, evade attacks. He can also have Nue use its wings, or I guess just its body in general, to guard him from attacks. So it is very useful, gives him a lot of mobility, leaves other people open to attacks through paralyzing them with the electrical wings, all kinds of fun stuff. Next up after Nue, we have the Toad, which I've also mentioned a little bit, but really it is just a toad. A very useful toad, but a toad. Nothing too seriously special. It has a long tongue that can extend out. It is very quick. Once again, just like Nue, Megumi can use the toad's tongue to wrap around himself and pull him out of harm very quickly. I assume the toad probably uses a little bit less cursed energy than Nue. It just seems like flying electrical wings would cost more than Toad. So yeah, this is probably a good technique to use if he doesn't really need to fly out of harm's way, if he just needs to shift from one side to the other and give himself a little extra boost of speed in random directions. This would be a good one to pull out, probably doesn't cost a whole lot. This tongue is also strong enough to grab enemies and slam them around. Obviously, it can't do it to a very large curse or an extremely strong opponent, but still very useful. And as mentioned earlier, we have seen Nue and the Toad combined into the well's unknown abyss. This gives the Toad wings, so it gives it extra speed and more mobility, allowing it to fly around. However, it is a little bit easier to destroy, but that's okay because, like I said, if it is destroyed, that's fine as long as the Toad and Nue respectively remain alive. Next up after the Toad, we have Megumi's giant serpent summoning. This basically takes the ensnaring portion of the Toad along with the slamming opponents around portion of it and cranks them up to 11, allowing Megumi to do this to larger and stronger opponents. That's really what the snake is useful for. I mean, it's a giant snake. It does giant snake stuff. It's more often used to grab people or sling them around or wrap around and ensnare them, allowing them to be hit by other techniques, things of this nature. But it is a pretty powerful one. However, I believe it was destroyed already. I think Sukuna destroyed it, but you might have to fact check me on that one. We haven't seen a whole lot of Great Serpent, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's destroyed. Otherwise, you'd think you'd use it more often. Anyway, moving on to the next one, we have Megumi's Max Elephant. It weighs a ton and can be used to crush Megumi's opponents, but it can also discharge an insane amount of water, so especially if you are indoors, you can flood the area and push your opponent back with the water, possibly drown them, possibly slam them into a wall, possibly slam them out of a window. Yeah, that's really it for Max Elephant. We first saw it in the Goodwill Kyoto Sister School event because Megumi learned how to use it just before that during his training with Maki and Panda and everybody else. Next up, we have Megumi's Rabbit Escape, and this just allows him to summon a ton of rabbits. Like a horde of these things. So it can obscure the entire battlefield, allow him to escape very easily by cutting off the line of sight through just a massive wall of fluff. The rabbits are almost never used to attack. He could use them to form a wall in front of him and then have a surprise attack, make the person think he's trying to run away by cutting off sight, and then attack through them. But outside of that, it's usually a defensive move. And now we have finally gotten to the big boy himself, who has never been tamed by a single user of the Ten Shadows technique in history. And this is the 8-handled sword, Divergent Sila, Divine General Mahoraga himself. This man is a monster. I hope I pronounced everything properly there. It was really mainly the Sila word. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I hope I did. Anyway, this guy, like I said, is a monster. The wheel on his back specifically represents a full cycle of harmony. Every time he is attacked and damaged, this circle will spin 1 notch. If it makes it 8 notches, the things are pretty much done. Just don't even worry about it. Just off yourself. You're done. And along with the wheel spinning that 1 notch when it is hurt by an attack, that is also it adapting to that attack. That attack will never work on it again. So, in essence, the only way to beat Mahoraga is to completely annihilate it before it can ever adapt. And considering how powerful it is, never been tamed before, ever. That is extremely hard to do. The only person we have seen do it is Sukuna, and that's a pretty high bar. Granted, it wasn't full power Sukuna, it was like, 16 finger Sukuna, something like that, like, pretty powerful. Up there, like, top 75% of Sukunas. That's what we're looking at. So yeah, Maharaga is absolutely insane, and I cannot wait to see Megumi exercise it because I feel like that's just gotta happen. I feel like it has to, but maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, real quick before we end the video, we need to talk about Megumi's domain expansion, the Chimera Shadow Garden. He has never been able to fully realize this domain expansion yet. However, this is still an extremely powerful technique. It drains a lot out of him, but it generally has the same effect as a fully realized domain expansion. If you are within these black shadows, you are going to be hit by an attack unless you can counter it, block it in some way with a simple domain, things like this. The drawback is it costs more cursed energy, it's a lot harder for him to keep it up, and if he does find himself in a domain battle against a fully realized domain, well, he's gonna lose out. Unless he has help. But this is still extremely powerful, allows him to freely manipulate the shadows within this area. He can sink into the shadows. We've seen him take a headshot straight through the forehead and just sink into the shadows and annihilate the dude. So yeah. Chimera Shadow Garden, that's some A1 stuff right there. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.